Hi everyone, welcome to Fireside Chat with Incubite. Here we are again, I and Abhishek talking about different ways we could use AI to do software development. Hi Abhishek, what do you want to talk about today?
I've been thinking about something that is called spec-driven development, and it was something that I had tried for the first time with Amazon's AI tool. I think it's called Amazon Q. And to be honest, my experience at that time wasn't really the best one. What I struggled the most with was once the spec was created, it basically wrote way too much code. And to give more context, this was just for an open source repository that I maintain, just a Lua project, nothing fancy. And I asked it to build me a new feature. And the solution that Amazon Q came up with was like a 1500 line file. Everything together, no best practices, nothing. And it didn't even work correctly all of the time. And then I went in with just a regular like Claude code with the usual small steps approach, and then I was able to achieve it in like around 100 150 lines, so 10x less things to maintain, and it was a working solution. So my
There's,
experience hasn't been the most positive, Sapan. I wanted to
yeah,
hear from you because you have been doing a lot with.
yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of magic that happens when you tell AI to code. But a little bit of a sidebar. Looking at you, it feels right that we are doing a fireside chat today.
Yep,
Too
it's
cold where
gone
you are, is
super
it?
chilly, yeah, recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anyways, getting back to the fireside chat and the spec-driven development, I think I have been doing that a lot. I've been writing a lot of specs before I get started, and we could actually try it. Of course, it's quite new, and maybe the way I'm doing it may not be the best way of doing it as well. But what I've been doing is why don't we actually jump right in? Let's say we want to write sort of a to-do app.
Yeah.
And as we do that, let's ask Claude itself, what is spec-driven development, right? So let's ask, can you tell me what is spec-driven development with AI? Feel free to online, right? Now, as I do this, one of the reasons that I really like it is that as it searches for these things and as it gives you a sort of a response, now it's learning as we are going based on
Yeah.
this chat history that, what spec-driven development is. So you're not just only asking it to search for something, you're also telling it to change its attitude while it's developing something. So there are certain things that whenever I start a chat, sometimes I'm going to write about Incubite, and the first question I ask is, do you know what is Incubite? Be it ChatGPT, be it Claude Code. It'll go online and search for
Hmm.
Incubite, but that kind of creates the
Sets
knowledge
the
base or sort
context.
of it sets the context exactly. So here it'll take a few seconds, and maybe it'll set the context, and I see the tokens are coming down. So
Yeah.
hopefully we should see what spec-driven development is, right? And I think this is nice. The reason instead of vibe coding, so this is now a replacement for vibe coding, where you're not focusing on the code, but you're actually focusing on the specification, how your product should look like. So you're actually spending more time defining the product, the features of it. So you do specification, then plan, then break it down into tasks, and then you start implementing. So one of the things is that your tasks or phases, my specs typically ends up having phases,
Hmm.
should be so small that it should never get to a point where it generates 1500 lines of code
Yes.
just to get through something, right? I never knew there is a toolkit called GitHub Spec Kit. We should definitely,
It was development.
yeah,
Okay,
try it.
this was the editor that I tried. Kiro.
Oh yeah, I like the idea. Have you tried it? Oh, this is where you had the problem where it
Yeah,
created
yeah.
1500.
And
Okay.
and this was really like the first launch of that tool. So don't
Mm.
want to throw any shade on Amazon as well. Maybe they have improved by now.
Improved, and
But
now
yeah.
it is much better.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So now I'm gonna go ahead and let's write specs of this to-do app I want to create. Main features are, well, to-do app has to-dos which I can set on a recurring basis, like a to-do that shows up every morning saying read your emails. Okay. And then I'm gonna say, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. think about the app, and then we will write the specs for it, right? Let's see what it does now. I wonder if you have been using Ultra thing. I
Yeah,
also love the
so
fact that how it changes the colors.
yeah, it puts a rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But earlier when I used to select just think or think very hard, it used to color them. I think that's gone now. Does it
Yeah,
do that for you?
they have changed it. And this is also something that I've been seeing after Claude 2.2, this interactive input fetcher. It's
Yes.
really
So
nice.
it's really nice. And if you specifically ask it to ask you questions, it starts creating like this options that
Yeah.
you can select, right? So we are going to say, okay, I want to use a web app or CLI app. So I want to say it will be a web app.
Hmm.
Recurrence, auto generate. Auth, no auth. Reminders in, or push an email. Why not? Submit answers. So now it's going to take all those answers and going to now start thinking
Really.
again. It's actually quite amazing how much user interface you can build via a CLI. Look at this, it's
CLI.
just
Yeah.
tabs. Yeah. So do you want to do basic, simple preset intervals or advanced, like custom every end day, specific weekdays, monthly? So why don't we do advanced?
Yeah, so I think the spec would look a bit more meaty.
Yeah, exactly. Is it not? You know what? I don't know what it selected earlier. Now it did.
Now it's advanced.
And we want to create it in React.
React Node should be fine.
Let's keep the history and then let's submit the answers. I think we didn't do it right earlier.
Yeah, it's not showing the output from the previous
Okay.
answers.
Earlier, I just hit the arrow keys and did not. I thought I'm selecting the option
Ah,
and then going to the next tab, but I had to hit enter.
oh,
So
it
this is
also
another thing.
created a
A UI. So
markdown
every time
UI.
when you yes, so every time when you do that, we want to do spec-driven development, it will start creating these UI elements as well. So from the first answer, what platform and auth model? So we are saying web with no auth. And the other thing that I do is, yeah, go ahead.
Is there a specific format that you follow while writing specs?
So right now we are just clarifying the ideas, and then we'll
Right.
say now go ahead and write a spec.
Mm-hmm.
So then it will automatically add UATs and all because it has a definition of what a spec
Okay.
means. So, but I still want to tell a few things before it forgets, which is we work with MVP mindset, which means that every task or a phase should be a thin slice
Mm.
of releasable work. Once I say this, it's going to try to remember that also. So when it
Right.
will create phases or tasks, it will try to create it screen by screen as opposed to layer by layer. And we may want to tell that too, that, hey, moreover, when you create tasks, unless unavoidable, do not create tasks by layer. Instead, create tasks. Oh, sorry, slices, right? So there are two things, and by adding hash over there, once again, we just put it
Remember.
in the memory, right? So now it's
Mm.
gonna remember it while it does it. So yeah, let's go ahead and maybe start with, so there's that it's suggesting that should we create two? One is overview.md, another is phase one basic to do .md, right? So phase one could be done in an hour and gives a working foundation. Should we go ahead and do it? I think let's, you know what,
Yeah.
say yes, write the specs.
I think the
We'll go ahead and write the
slices
specs.
approach is like really useful for AI because by default I've always seen it goes by layers. Like it will
Yeah,
build the model first, all of it, then it will build the whole API and then it will start with UI.
agreed. So it has created a specs directory. And is it Glow? I forgot.
For Markdown preview,
For Markdown. Yeah.
I
Is it
use
Glow pipe and the file name or?
I use bat, but Glow I think you can directly just feed. I think it should just read the file, maybe glow overview.md or something. Or if not, you can do cat overview.md, pipe that to Glow.
Is it Glow this, right? Like this.
No, you'll have to cat overview.md and then add the pipe and then add Glow.
Really?
I mean, if it is a pipe fed thing, if it
Thing. Okay.
directly reads the file, then you can just do glow overview.md. What I have been doing recently is I use Claude as my main CLI agent.
Mm-hmm.
Like it runs it does the tasks and everything. And for brainstorming, I use the Copilot CLI. I have that added to a key binding that opens it in a pop-up. So when I have questions like these, I just open that pop-up, ask Copilot to get me the answer, and close
Ah.
that pop-up.
You know, I want to read this in the CLI itself, but it's not doing such a good job. Let me
Yeah, it's not formatting it well.
not formatting it well. Let's see it in a better editor what it has done. How about we actually just let me go ahead and share that screen and let's see what we have over there. So we have a spec directory now. We have the overview over here. It created a phases, a working to-do app without recurrence. So this is the first phase where we'll create a
Yes,
working to-do app,
basic.
yeah, without the recurrence, which is shippable in its own. Then phase two, daily recurrence. Add the core recurring feature, daily to-dos, again shippable. And then you could do flexible and
Advanced.
then again shippable. And then, so
And
this is
then,
how I try to
yeah,
do it. And non-goal, so it clearly says what is a non-goal. And now and I'm really hoping that when we go here, it added this done when. This is actually every time it does a little bit. Usually it has a user acceptance criteria section where it has acceptance criteria. But yeah, I think this is also acceptance criteria, just written
yep,
a little bit differently. And now that each phase is also broken down into smaller areas, and it's talking about just the data model and just talking about adding a to do.
adding a to-do.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can go and see now it's creating each phase is being created over here. So
Yeah,
if we'll go and see here, it'll have all different phases. That means we are actually taking care of what you were saying earlier, right? The only thing is now it's going to take a lot of time to create the project itself. We can just go ahead and do what? Maybe a white project. We can say, let's create, you know what, instead of telling AI while it is busy, we can just do it via the command prompt. For now, I'll have a, you know what? Please forgive me for this. I'm gonna create a to-do app inside a to-do app directory.
you can use npx create white at latest and then to-do
Yeah, I
app.
did PNPM create white, and I'm just gonna say
Okay.
to-do app. I don't know what's wrong with it,
Yeah, because the width is small, the
but no, it's not.
terminal formatting is not working. If you hit Control C maybe and then try again, could be something messed up with the terminal.
Let's go with React, and I hope it'll ask us about TypeScript. So let's go with
Yeah.
TypeScript. Yes, no, yes, feature default white, which is powered by I have use roll down white. No, install with PNPM and start now, and we're gonna say yes. It'll start. Right, I'm gonna go back. Actually, we can just stay here. Now we shouldn't usually be doing this. Our spec should be inside. So I should have created the folder first, a project first, and started creating the spec inside
Specs.
it. So typically, this is another good thing that happens. We are writing specs and
Mm-hmm.
we have a specs directory, and I keep two directories in my project, specs and done. So all the specs which are then done,
Hmm.
I keep moving them from specs to done.
Done.
So you already, and then you're committing them. So I know everyone likes like Jira and whatnot. I really love this way of working where everything is
Everything
detailed.
is in the
And
repository. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's this other thing, one small thing that I do is I create a file called paper cuts.
Okay.
These paper cuts are going to have like these small issues. So I would write, as you're using the product while you're developing, you'll see these small,
Uh,
sort of something not being selected by default, or after you close a pop-up it refreshes a little bit or
right.
moves a little bit. All those paper cuts I keep editing in it.
Okay.
So you have now a running list of all small issues, and that
Right.
I created as a checklist. So that checklist then you can keep track of.
And
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
the goal of this paper cuts thing is to not interrupt the AI's flow with the steps and just fix them later, or is it something else?
No, that's it. I think what happens is that you are a lot of time when you're working with AI, you are working with big items, right? Like, let me make this pop-up work. And you don't
Right.
want to go on a side hustle when you're trying to develop the whole
Hmm.
thing. So, you're working on this prompt and or you're working on this pop-up, and that pop-up is going to show recurring to-dos, and you're working on those, day-wise, week-wise, month-wise to-dos. And at that time, you came to realize that, oh, this drop-down's not rendering
Button.
right.
Yeah.
So you don't want to then start working on that, because then that also messes up the history a little bit. So what I do is
Right.
I kind of write it in paper cuts that there's this one thing that I want to do.
Hmm.
And a lot of time it happens because you're working and on features so much that you also are drained and you don't
Right.
want to think about new features. Then you go to paper cuts and say, hey, which ones can we fix? And then we
Hmm.
fix one paper cut at a time. So that's why you're not constantly going on side hustles as you find these small
I
paper
think.
cuts. It's not bugs because we don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a workflow tip that can be added to like any kind of AI workflow, I feel,
Yeah.
not just spec driven. So we even explicitly are saying that right now we are focusing on phase one.
Phase one, yeah. And even this, if you don't want to go ahead, can you think about all the steps you will be performing? Do not write code yet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now, oops, now it'll start going and I had to say slice 1.1, but I think you get the point.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's one other way of working, and I think we it's easier to show with
Greenfield.
greenfield
Yeah.
projects. That's why I showed it like this. But it may work for everything. Wherever you want to use AI without letting it sort of go on its own,
Hmm.
and you want to control the how the work is done, then you'd go with spec-driven development. I think, and I see that like old saying that if you want to go fast, go slow. This is
Yeah.
the same thing that you're
Hmm.
going fast, but you're going slow. You're telling yourself to follow a certain level of discipline. I really hope that it doesn't come down to the day where we say instead of telling AI, let's just write that line of code,
Yeah.
and then we'd have come full circle. Yeah. Anything else, Abhishek?
No, I think just my takeaways, like now that I looked at this process, like how you have been doing it, I think like what I've been doing is I've been creating the implementation plan. The specs are never coming into the project directory for me. So I think I'm missing that step one. I think I've been starting at step two because like either that spec is in Jira or it's in my head. I'm just communicating that explicitly. But yeah, I feel this can be adapted. And maybe as a trailer for New Year, something cool that I've been looking at, Sapan, is a tool called Open Code. It's a similar AI CLI tool, but
Yeah.
what they have been doing recently is that it's like they have made it like the Linux of AI CLI coding agents. So they have added a ton of things. I'm still learning about those, but maybe when we talk in the new year, we can talk about that and I can show you what I learned till then.
I think that'd be awesome. So I want to, before we close, I think I want to add one more thing about having the specs in the directory and keeping that, by moving them to done
Mm-hmm.
directory, and then also write it in your Claude dot. So your rules file should Claude.md should also mention that your specs are in this directory and everything that's done in that other directory.
That's it.
And every spec, as you are working on them, you can actually have those checkboxes when done or user acceptance criteria. So you complete them. So now every time when you start Claude, it actually also knows it has a lot more context about what's
Yeah.
done in this project so far. So every time if you, and this used to be a fear that I used to have earlier, and I already see that the way of working or the way Claude works has changed. That is, if you start a new session, it doesn't start like almost a blank state late.
Right.
It starts with context of, oh, I have done this in
It
past. Let's
it
get
already
started.
knows what's built and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And about open code, right?
Yep. Yep.
I think I want to hear more about it. Let's definitely talk about it. Why not talk about how well does it work with Claude and maybe some level of comparison, how well it works.
Yeah.
We can both do
Do the same things.
same thing, and let's try it. That'll be
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Well, in that case, subscribe to our channel, and we'll next fireside chat we'll be comparing two tools.
Awesome.